Hello and welcome, I'm Jasper and this is the PB&J cast where we explore careers, ideas and authentic conversations. I'm thankful for you investing time to help broaden perspective and joining me in the journey as we appreciate the process of finding and adding value. We are live recording. Well, I'm happy to welcome my friend Zen here,
Thank you.
who will be talking about IT recruiting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's just what I do. Hello, everyone. Hello, Jasper. Thanks for having me once again. It's my first podcast. Really excited. Let's get into it.
Sweet. Sounds good. What would be a good question to ask you?
What I do?
What do you do?
Well, basically, look, I'm a recruiter. IT is my field, but a lot of the skills that I do and a lot of things I do, you can actually apply to industries as well. I think IT is actually, however, one of the more interesting industries to actually recruit for, just because it's so broad, and I believe that's sort of the industry of the future.
Okay.
You're always learning new things. You're meeting people that have done some amazing work, things that are quite mind-blowing, to be honest, to grasp, and, obviously quite intimidated sometimes as well, just because, you don't want to feel like, you're not valued or you're not understanding what they're trying to say. But then again, you're there to help them obviously find work and obviously improve their livelihoods and their career paths and develop them in that way. So yeah, it's a very interesting industry to be a part of. And sure.
Okay. When was the biggest struggle? You say that you don't really understand them.
Yeah. I would say probably the jargons that IT guys use. In IT, there are many different fields, okay? So there's infrastructure and there's application. These are the two main denominations in IT. Application is more like the software development side, where people are like coders, software engineers, people that are into creating fancy things, using code, right? Infrastructure is more, I guess, what supports an organization: networking, network engineering, systems engineering, IT support, infrastructure support, data centers. And these are all another side of IT. For me to really learn every single umbrella or every single thing under that one cloud called IT is really difficult. So that's where I struggle a bit. What I enjoy most about my job as well is learning. So if I'm not sure about something, then, just talk to them. People usually are quite passionate in what they do. And it's not a good sign if they're not willing to actually talk about these things. So that kind of does help me get around and also allow me to sort of, talk to others as well in the future after initial conversations and all that. So, yeah.
Cool. That makes sense. Do you have an IT background?
No,
yeah.
I don't. So how I got into it, it's a funny story actually. So just graduated university. I was a part-timer working for Vodafone.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. I was in sales. I was the guy selling you phones and plans and stuff like that. And I've always had a keen, interest in IT, just because working around mobile phones, really got me. I was really into all the techie, when you're trying to buy a phone, what do you look for? You look for perhaps camera quality, RAM. Some people say the pixels on your screen or whatever.
Yep.
And these are things that I was really into. And I graduated with a degree in human resource, and hoping to get into the people side of business. And look, I was approached by a recruiter herself, which was my first boss. She was an interesting one. She gave me the opportunity.
Okay.
She gave me the opportunity, to really challenge myself in a role, IT recruitment consultant. I didn't know anything walking into this role. Honestly, it was my worst job I've ever had. Okay, and honestly, I never ever
worse than Vodafone.
It was the worst job I've had in my life.
Yes.
Okay, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I didn't think that IT recruitment or recruitment in general was my thing after this job. Okay,
Yeah, right.
That's how bad it was.
Okay.
Yeah, look, there were so many failures, so much anxiety in that job because there was such high pressure to sort of succeed. It's hard to explain, but essentially I left that job after 6 months, and I needed time to really think about what I wanted to do. This was my calling, or not. So I took a break. I started working at JB Hi-Fi again.
Yep.
So obviously
So
similar.
back to sales.
Back to sales.
Yeah.
Back to techie, small techie, retail sales. And I thought that was obviously very fun. I was looking forward to actually making that my career as well. But after being in that for a little bit, I still to this day I say this changed my life entirely. Yeah, look, a good friend of mine, Vanessa, shout out to Vanessa. She one day hit me up and said, "Hey, Zen, I've got this," now he is, but back then, I've got a friend that's working in IT recruitment.
Yep.
And he just messaged me, asking if I know anyone IT recruitment before, no matter how many, years of experience or months of experience, he's hiring. So I go, okay, you know what? I'm just going to send in my CV. He gave me a call. The only reason why he called me was because I put on my CV, I went to Kingdom City and I was serving there.
Yeah.
He himself was a Christian as well.
Okay.
And yeah, we really bonded on that week, and he gave me the opportunity to work in IT, and he mentored me properly. This I know today. Yeah, I did really well. I succeeded, and I really enjoyed recruitment. Working in that company, and I felt like I was really taking people somewhere. Like I was giving people, I felt so much fulfillment in being people, and not just people that I'm placing, not just people that I'm hiring for my clients, but also people that are struggling to, go through interviews or go through, trying to get their first job. I was really enjoyed, the aspect of me being vocal in that area of their lives. And yeah, I think that's the beauty of what I do.
Yeah, right. I have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, sorry I took...
Please don't
Look,
be sorry.
feel free to just cut in. And
very interesting. I am curious, though, as to how come, since you got to the place being like, hey, this industry, I love this retail side of things. What made you even consider to begin with?
Okay, I think it was more the look, that guy, shout out to Richard. I think Richard he sold himself to me as a mentor, someone that would be there to sort of, take me under his wing. And, I think that's what really made me say, look, maybe I should give this another shot. Maybe I should give this another shot. And a little bit about, I don't like losing. I'm quite a competitive person myself. And the fact that I ended the other job on a low note. And I was told as well by people in that job that I was not. I was told that, and that really demoralized me a lot. But, I always believed in myself. I knew that it was with proper tutelage, I would succeed. And thank God, I came through. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it, man. Happy to hear it.
Thank you.
And how many years has it been since?
It's been about 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's been about 3 years. I just started a new job this time in doing recruitment for more of a managed service company or a system integrator. It's a very different environment, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, right. So 3.5 years in, done other jobs on this, in and out in between retail. What would you say is the biggest difference, or how was Richard's mentoring? How did he do it? Where you went from a place saying, I hate this industry, but I want to give it a shot, to I can thrive in this industry.
Yeah, look, I think it's really about, how Richard really taught me more so the people side of things, as well as the business side of things. He gave me a good understanding about how these two aspects blend.
Okay.
So in recruitment, especially agency recruitment, it's a bit different.
So what is agency recruitment?
So agency recruitment is different because we are heavy sales focused. Okay, so that's where we kind of get a dodgy name sometimes.
And what are you selling?
So we're selling resources, human resources.
Okay.
So that's what we're selling. We're selling people, candidates. We're selling companies as well to candidates. So there's a bit of a 360-degree
It goes both ways.
perspective. Yes. So there's a candidate sale and there's also a client sale.
Okay.
Yeah. So a candidate sale would be, let's say, Jasper, you're the client, you're Woodside,
Yep.
or you are, big company, right? I'm meeting with you for the first time, and you're looking for someone. I definitely know that someone, and I've got that someone, and I'm here to really represent him as an agent to see whether you'd be interested in taking him on. In the same way, when I meet that candidate, I'm selling you, Jasper, to him, in the hopes that he would be interested making this job working for you. So it's a very sales recruitment environment that I work in, whereas internal recruitment is more talent acquisition, as many would say, is a different role altogether. Okay, so that's where you're working for Woodside, or I'm gonna, like, for example, you're working directly for the company, and you're recruiting the best talent that you can find, right? Into the company, to really boost the human resource side of things within your own company. And I'm more of the agent that tries and get in there in a way and be able to sell people to the company. So a lot of people ask me sometimes, so why, if companies have their internal team, why do they need agents?
Just about to ask,
right?
that.
Like that's obviously the big question mark. So the reason why people use agencies is because getting a candidate from an agent, there can be many pros and many pros and many cons in also, but I would say there's probably more pros. There's less risk. So you need someone for your project, okay? And this project has a budget for about 6 months. Yeah. Would you want to hire someone permanently and pay for their superannuation, their entitlements, and not have, I guess, certainty that there's any work for them? So there's only work for them in the short term, and potentially, that work will be extended, you know what I mean? So a lot of the times people don't understand, when you take on someone long term, there's a lot of risk that comes with it. The company is actually, there's redundancies if anything goes wrong. There's all these payouts that you got to make, any workers' compensation risk. And these are things that companies are starting to realize, look, why don't we just start using agencies, recruitment agencies, to source, contractors or people that are willing to work in a flexible manner, so that this reduces our risk. You know what I mean? And if anything happens, it's not our fault that this guy's hurt. It's not our fault that this guy, is actually the agency's fault, because they took on the whole recruitment process. They're payrolled under the contractor's payroll under the agency.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a different approach to recruitment. Okay. But ultimately, for the candidate, it doesn't really, there's not much of a difference. Okay. Because the candidate still gets paid. They still get the experience and the lessons that they want to learn from the job. They still get what they want, So, and that's ultimately the difference between an internal recruitment role and an agency recruitment role. I hope this makes sense in a certain way.
It does. It does.
Yeah, it's quite corporate-y. So
no,
I totally understand.
It makes sense to me. And hey, look, let me also try to just recap it, and you let me know if I am saying this correctly.
Go ahead, give it a shot.
When you're an agency, you're a third party, and you're a bit of an intermediary between the corporation that wants to hire and the potential employee. And when you do hire, you are not then putting that employee under the other company in terms of payroll, but you then take on their payroll, but then they then go work for the other company.
Yeah.
And you are doing this as a service, because then it helps the company deal with a lot of the admin side of things, de-risk them with legislation and a lot of that bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And to them, it's worth it. It's worth the fee that you guys charge.
Yeah, we do charge a margin, okay? And that's obviously a negotiation that happens as well in the background.
Yeah.
It can range anywhere from as low as 8% to 25%, sometimes even 30%.
Yeah, right.
Depending on how hard it is to obviously find very niche skill sets and all that stuff,
Wow.
Yeah, so you're very spot on. That's exactly right. We payroll these guys. They're contracted. The candidates know that they're contracted as well. They agree to project-based hire. What people don't understand is that if the project doesn't get delivered, it's not the client's fault. Do you know what I mean? There's no who takes the blame, right? Like usually if you put an internal staff, permanent worker under your payroll to do a project and he doesn't deliver that, then you have to go through all this performance management, training that you have to pay for to try and help him get to where he needs to be. And all these are cost, time, resources wasted. You know what I mean? Whereas if you go through an agent and they obviously, you take them on board to deliver a project for you, you go to a services company, a systems integrator company, managed service company to do a project for you, right? And if the project fails, then whose fault is it? You don't have much liability besides the fact that you've obviously paid the money, but that cost is minimal compared to the trouble as well of obviously having someone within your company fail to do project.
Gotcha.
So yeah, these are the different things that I sort of handle on a day-to-day basis. Yeah.
And I was actually thinking of like a conflict of interest, but now that you mentioned that, it makes sense because they hire you to find an employee to fill that role or do that job.
That's correct.
And if that candidate in which you have found doesn't meet that criteria, then it's onus up to you and in the agency's interest to then fill that role with someone else. No?
Sorry, I don't get the last part.
So if say company A wants to hire Bob. Yeah. Bob, company A didn't like Bob's performance. But because of you guys then try to find someone else to replace Bob for company A. What happens then? What happens when the project falls apart?
That's also a service that we provide. Yes. So that's a recruitment job. Okay. So that's something that we do as well. Honestly, whatever makes us money, what we do. Okay. So
that's something.
So for example, right? Like if the client wants us to do a project, all right, build a team for me, we call that professional services, right? If client A says this guy's not good enough in my company, he's gone, we need you to like a maternity cover, for example, these are quite come up, or if someone's been left the job and in a critical time, right? These are things that we do for them as well. However, if that's the case, then the payroll is now under them. Because if you want to take him on permanently to replace employee A who left, then we charge you a margin for the service of recruitment. Whereas if you want us to deliver a project, then we charge you the margin for the service of time and materials. So it's really a different. Think about it this way: recruitment agents are like sales. We're in sales and we have different products, and these different products are open and available to our customers to be able to select as to which product would best meet at a particular time or stage in time, right? So again, like we're open. Let us know what they and how we can come in helping hand and grow their business. So that's kind of what I do. It's a bit different to talent acquisition.
Okay, I got you. I see what you mean. You clearly listen to the other.
So talent acquisition is one product only, which is recruitment.
Bad.
And strategic planning. That's cool. And that's ultimately that's part of what I do as well. But agencies have different products.
Gotcha. So you're like HR solutions.
Yes, correct. It's like solutions based company.
Right.
You would say, yeah.
I have a few somewhat maybe controversial questions to ask.
Yeah, I'm waiting for this, man. Honestly,
I can tell you're looking at me like I wanna pitch this.
I'm here for the controversial questions.
So, before we get into the controversial side, because let's just do quick elevator pitches side of things.
Okay.
It's an elevator pitch. Keep it short. Why should someone want to be a HR recruiter? Sorry, an IT recruiter.
Why would someone want to be an IT recruiter?
Yep.
Number one, industry.
Okay.
Industry of the future.
Right.
Helping people in their livelihoods, finding work for people is very, very fulfilling. At least to myself, and really being able to grow in your personal I would say EQ, people skills.
Mm-hmm.
These are the three key things that you find that I think sustain yourself within the role. So
Cool.
yeah.
Makes sense. Good elevator bitch. Elevator pitch. Okay. All right. Why shouldn't you want to be a HR?
First of all, if you're not into sales, if you're not into KPIs and fast-paced environments, managing people's expectations on a daily basis, negotiating on a daily basis. Yeah, look, it's a tough job. It's honestly, I would tell anyone who wants to be an IT, it's a tough job. And only get into it if you can, if really you're passionate about those.
Adding on to the next elevator pitch, if somebody, yes, I hear both sides, I still want to do it, what's a typical way look like?
Resource manager, candidate manager. Okay, so that's the start. You start off as a 180-degree sort of recruiter where you only focus but working with your business development managers, and account managers, which is the next step for you. And that's more of a business sales, client-facing side of things. Alternatively, you can go out of agency recruitment into internal recruitment, talent acquisition in that area. That's fine. And then obviously talent acquisition manager, advisor, head of talent of HR, and then break into HR. From there, you can go into sales path, which is BD, BDM, business development manager, state manager, regional manager, and director. There's two different pathways, but these are ultimately the career paths.
Thanks for that. Yeah. So, I noticed you said sales. And I feel like this may be where it gets a little bit controversial.
Okay.
Is there any conflict of interest for you guys between? Is there any ethical dilemmas?
There is every day, every single day, man.
Okay.
Look, the ethical dilemma is okay. Sometimes, there's always a temptation where money than someone's livelihood.
Right.
When I say livelihood, I don't mean like, their death or anything like that. I mean, what I mean by that is other people's interests. Okay. Which is obviously to get a job, to pay for their family, for their mortgages. And is it worth it for you to pull them out of a situation that is better for them, and to put them into a situation that is
gotcha.
Okay. You can twist it as much as you want, but you deep down inside will know not better for them, right?
And this would be depending on what they want.
Yes. Okay. And I know a lot of the times people don't know what they want. People don't know what they want. Okay. People can't. When companies ask you about your 10-year goal or whatever, mate, like, no one knows. All right, no one knows where they want to be really. Okay, they've got an idea, okay, but they don't know what it's gonna look like to get there, right? And sometimes there is a sales part where you've got to meet your targets. You've got to meet your numbers. You don't want to be performance managed as a recruiter, right? That's where sometimes recruiters cross the line and they recruit out of their own personal interest, and that can never be the case. As a recruiter, you should never recruit out of personal interest in yourself. You should always recruit for others, and that's, in my opinion, what differentiates a good recruiter. It's the ethics behind it. I don't care, for me personally at least. I mean, everyone's different, if you're a sales manager, you probably see the unethical guy as the better performer because of the numbers he's bringing in, whereas the more ethical guy, he's bringing in less numbers, but he's building more connections. He's actually, growing his network because of is reputation.
Gotcha.
Do you know what I mean? So again, reputation is key
Mm.
in my industry.
Mm.
Absolutely. Reputation is everything. Okay. This is a small place. Everyone knows everyone. Every IT person knows every other. It's so small, man. Like, honestly. Yeah, that's what I pride myself in terms of how I approach my job.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a numbers guy.
Mm.
I'm really not. I don't care. I'm just in a role that requires me to deliver numbers. But I always believe that if you do things right and you do things for others, right, and you recruit for others, money is always going to come back to you because in the long run, your reputation is going to hold up.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Yes, in the short run, you're making a couple $1,000s, you're making this but is it worth it when you're burning bridges, when you're, really causing people's lives to go haywire?
Right.
And there is, I've seen, many instances. All right, I can give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say, Jasper, you have a family of 3.
Yep.
3 kids, a wife. Your wife's obviously not working, looking after 3 kids. She wants to work, but it's better if you just work, right? You're in a permanent role. You're getting $130,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You're comfortable. You're managing to pay for your mortgage. You're covering your children's school fees. You're saving some money. You're paying for some, you're putting food on the table, right? Stable, right? And not necessarily bad in career progression as well. You're doing well.
Mm.
Suddenly, you get a call one day. This is actually what happened. I've witnessed this happen before. Okay, I'm just using an example now to illustrate what happened. Okay.
Yep.
But suddenly you get a call from a recruiter, and he goes, "Mate, I've got a 12-month contract, major project for a tier 1 mining company. We're paying you 200K.
Almost double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a potential for you to be extended. People forget that, contracts, they don't have notice periods. They don't have redundancies. There's liabilities behind. If you're in the candidate's shoes, what would you see this opportunity as?
Well,
so you're working for a small company, earning 130K, right? Slowly working your way up the ladder, right, in the corporate world. Suddenly this big mining company approaches you and offers you 40% pay rise, some form of stability, like, and for you to lead in the project, right? What would you do? What would you do if you didn't know anything about what I just told you?
Look, it sounds good. Sounds good to me.
It sounds good to you, right? The guy took the job. Okay, project was canned after 3 months.
Yeah, right.
Okay, he got dropped off without notice, 1 week notice. Project's off. Sorry, guys. We don't really feel like we need this done anymore.
Wow.
You're jobless now. Right? You've got 3 children to feed. You've got mortgage to pay. People don't understand how hard it is to get a job. It's not easy, especially, in COVID-19. These things are unpredictable. I've talked to people that have been jobless since January 2020. They've been jobless and they went from high-paying jobs and all of a sudden they're jobless. It's not there's competition out there. How does that look in your profile? How does that look in your CV? It's always, again, the recruiter that recruited you got paid his money. He got paid his 20%. He doesn't care about you. He's done. He's done with you. All right, you go there. We're done. I don't talk to me or whatever. I got your money anyways. No worries. You know what I mean? And that's the ethical dilemma in my industry. Okay, so that's the controversial thing. I always tell people, do what's best for yourself. If I'm selling you something, if it's better for you in your head, okay, and if in your situation, take it. It's yours, right? I'm putting it on the table, right? But if it's not for you, then don't take it. I'm very happy when people say no. No, I don't think this is good for me. I get rejections every day. Every single day I get rejections. I have to deal with that every single day. Probably deal about 50 rejections.
Wow.
Minimum. I talked to about 200. And, I don't mind that. I think recruiters need to be able to take rejection very well. And they got to see it as when you're tunnel visioned, you would think, oh, money, 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 money. When you get rejected, you don't take it very well. Because the big picture is you don't see it. Your tunnel vision, all you care about is your margins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And making the boss happy. But how I see it is, and I think that this is what brings you success in the industry, is you got to have an open overview of the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right?
What do you mean by open overview?
So when you get rejected, there's always a reason why,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And you have to find that reason.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just feel sad that you got rejected. You can't feel salty that you got rejected.
Mm.
Jasper, why do you say no? Oh, job is pretty good for me right now. I'm happy where I'm at. I can see myself growing in the next couple years. So I don't think taking a 12-month contract, even though it is a lot more money, I don't think that it's the right decision for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you for telling me that. I really respect that. Can I know then what are you looking for you to be able to make a move? That way, when it does come by my desk, I know who to call.
Mm.
See, when you look at it from a bird's eye view, you ask these extra questions.
Bit
Do you
of
know
a
what I mean?
long-term perspective,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That network effect that you were talking about.
That's it. That's the whole purpose. Like it's for me, it's all about that. Help. You're recruiting for others. Go into this recruitment job with that kind of mindset, you're gonna go far. You're never gonna fail. You can do average, you can do poorly, but you can do great, but you're never gonna fail. Because you're practicing this method or this theory that I believe is what brings success in this job is obviously the big picture.
Right.
Yeah. So look at the big
what would you?
picture.
Because you said you can do great, you can do poorly, but then there's
So
difference in failure.
obviously what I mean by poorly is like, oh, you're not hitting your margins, because that's how I get performance managed. So if you're working for an agency as an agency recruiter, you get managed by money, how much money you bring in, and all this is by the margins that you charge your customers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're charging your customer this much money, and then all that gets reflected onto the KPIs or your monthly targets, right? And that's that determines whether you keep the job or not, really.
Then what would you then define as failing in the job?
Well, what I would define as failing is obviously losing that reputation, being unethical. Okay. All right. Just being tunnel visioned and money driven. Okay. I think that's not a good way to approach an agency recruitment job.
Are there currently checks and balances at all? Into what's stopping a recruiter aside from this long-term view and saying in the end this is actually going to be the bigger win for you? What is stopping people that don't have the same ethical moral compass as you to then say, you know what, stuff it, I do want that 2K, I don't want to be performance reviewed, I'm just going to keep trying to upsell without giving enough information? Is there anything right now in the industry that kind of helps that, or is it just
commissions? Kind of free rein? I mean, the consultant gets extra money.
Yes. So what's stopping them from actually? Do you think the system could be better, or do you think that this is kind of like the best?
No, look,
I
think it's difficult to manage that just because it's if whenever you're in a sales margin driven role, there's always perimeters where you can't keep people within. That you can't really. It's really about free for all. I would say. It's really. It comes down to your personal ethics. I know recruiters that are successful as well monetarily. I know some people that have made, but
at what cost?
Yeah, at what cost? And if they're happy with that, if they're fine with that, then that speaks a lot about what their ethics are. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Fair enough. Well, that's kind of sad for hearing from a complete outsider perspective to see that, that people get away with it. But I guess that's part of life.
Yeah, look, it's part of life.
Yep.
It is what it is. So it's not a crime, right? If the candidate gives approval for the consultant to stuff him over, then there's proof that you gave him approval to do so. So yeah, it's a twisted world we live in.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess that consent was given as well. Then do you think there's a place for additional regulation, or you think it will do more harm than good? And why?
I mean, I'm not sure like how much regulation you can put in place to prevent consent. I mean, it really depends on the Fair Work Commission, on the Australian Fair Work legislations, and if that doesn't minimize liability in different employment types, then this will always happen. But again, it's inevitable in a way. Every employment needs to have different rights. It can't be casuals. You get paid more, but you also get leave. There are pros and cons of every single employment type, but there are also loopholes, and there can never be a perfect system. So, unfortunately, I think what I would recommend people out there who are interested who are facing recruiters often is for you to find one and stick to one. Find a good recruiter that's on your side, all right, and find a recruiter that is trustworthy and actively actually out there to help you. And once you do that, then I think you should stick with him, because it's tough to.
Okay. How does one acid test that? Figure that out, because like you said, it's a lot of sales, right?
Yeah, look, I do believe it's very. It comes down to meeting with them in person. Okay. It comes down to really meeting with them in person, seeing whether you do vibe with them on a values level. So you ask your recruiters personal questions, questions that they don't really get asked very often. Make them uncomfortable, like just really see what they're about. You'll be able to tell when you meet someone. Like, for example, like if I meet someone, I personally would know whether that guy is someone I want to be talking to or not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there are people that you vibe with. There are people that you know from the start that, look, he's a great guy. He's a trustworthy. He seems to reflect the values that I reflect. And these are the people that I vibe with. And I think that's very important to pick up. And if you cannot pick that up,
because it can be hard.
It can be hard.
Especially when people are really good at selling.
I don't know. I really don't know. Okay. I really that's the scary part, Yeah. Look, it's really don't know.
So
you just have
there's always an element of
there's always an element.
That's where trust comes in as well.
There's always an element. Maybe ask yourself this question, if you are.
So this advice you'd be giving.
Yes. Maybe ask yourself this question to the listeners. Think about someone that you trust. Think about someone that you value. Think about someone that you trust. Okay, they cannot be a family member. Okay, and why do you trust that person? What about that person trust about or like? Or what has he done? And look, use these same concepts or values that you've come up in your head, and apply that to the next. And if they match, then I think you're 90% on the right path.
I really appreciate how you give the time to give advice to those, especially being in the industry. And this is something that we talked about before you came on.
Yeah,
you really wanted to give advice to those who.
I wanted to be honest and being
genuine.
Very genuine in how I want to really approach this. And I think it's important as well. I hate it when I see people getting stuffed over, on a daily basis, and it's something that I want to avoid. So, it's definitely good. Yeah.
How do you build trust personally? I know it's not a blanket rule,
Yeah.
but personally.
Just be honest. Just honestly, I mean, people can tell when you're being honest because you're giving them advice that you shouldn't be saying.
Okay.
So
Such as
if my job is to make money off you,
yeah,
I'm not gonna tell you not to take the job.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's not good for you, I would tell you to take the job knowing that it's not good for you because I still need to make money, right? But in my case, I'm always giving them being a devil's advocate, you know, because obviously I would have talked to you, I would have met you, I would have known your situation by then. That's the whole purpose of being an agent. You have to meet with people that and I would advise you, you know, from what I know about your, I'm just going to tell you why, you know, at the end of the day, it's still your decision. That, you know, it's still your decision. If I'm telling you that it's not a good deal and you tell me that you still want to go for it, I can't tell you, I'm not going to, you know, it's your life. It's the decisions you make, but I'm going to tell you it's not going to be good. Do you know what I mean?
From your opinion,
Yes. Like, for example, if you buy a house, the real estate agent tells you this house is not that good. You know, you've got this issue, you've got that issue, you've got this issue. But you're so lured by the fact that you love
whatever.
You love, you know, something about the house, right? You don't care about what your agent tells you and you still go for it. You know, like, and then 6 months down the road, you end up spending a huge amount of money to fix certain issues.
You can't blame the real
You
estate
can't blame
agent.
the agent. He's already told you that it's not going to be good. But if you still decide to take it, then, you know,
That's on you.
Yeah, we can't really tell you, you can't advise you any further. Do you know what I mean? We can't make decisions on your behalf. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, hope that answers that.
No,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Because I've done sales before.
Yeah.
Not in the same industry.
Right.
Hence with my my questions, like explain this, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know where you're coming from.
Right.
You know, basically I did like retail, like utility sales.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm being like, hey, look, like, what deal are you on now?
Yeah.
And obviously, Mike preferred me to just try to sell them the deal, like sell them my company's deal.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, like, what deal are you on now? Let me explain to you why this deal may or may not be better.
Yeah.
And like, if we can compare it together.
Yeah.
I think I still remember that sometimes there was a lot of, you know, like, you're just a salesman. You know, I don't trust you.
Yeah.
I don't give you that timing. How then do you actually connect? Because you said it's all about that timing and experience and getting to know somebody in the vibe, right? How do you even get to that stage to begin with? Being like, hey, would you be interested? Because sometimes I remember they would just give me,
I think
5 minutes.
Look,
Other
I think
people
it's
give me no time at all.
yeah. Look, I think it's personality as well.
And what personality do you think benefits the most then?
I can't really answer that question
Okay.
because it's really like I can only talk about my success. Like,
Okay.
you know, there's so many other people out there that I don't know of that probably are more successful than I'm at the moment. It really depends. You know, I think, you know, I think it just comes down to personality and really how you can feel that, you know, you're not the typical stigma stereotype of a sales guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's.
I think that while you're talking about recruiting, this applies like in so many different other aspects with all roles. Every role kind of like is what you did in the very beginning. You have to justify the role, right? Or you have to justify the transaction, the company, the cost. There's always a level of sales. So I don't think that sales itself is unethical. The conflict of interest can be, and it is very refreshing when there are people like you that look out for somebody instead of just being encompassed by their own self-interest.
Yeah, it applies to every sales environment, really. What makes a great real estate agent? You know, it's someone that's when he brings you on a house tour, he's gonna be there, and he's gonna try and think from your perspective, how this place is going to be. And if the guy is like, look, there are going to be cons, not just all the pros, that speaks volumes to me, because he's not he's not bull crapping. He's just, he's not bull crapping you, so these are things that I think speak volumes about people. And that's when you've got someone good.
Interesting. What do you do? Is you try to put yourself in their shoes. How do you then kind of figure out how they see the world? What do you do to then see their perspective?
Oh, look, it's just
Or what do you need to know?
I guess I apply if I meet someone for the first time. What kind of questions do I ask?
Okay, what would that be?
How do I know? Like, how do I make friends? Like, ask them, how many do you have kids?
What's important to them?
Yeah, what's important to them? Find out what's important to them. Find out more about their lives. It's a bit. Not many people are comfortable.
Sharing with somebody for the first time as well.
Right. Not many people are comfortable, but I think it's definitely just when they do tell you about it. Especially when they open up about it, be a good listener. Like, be someone that will be like, all right, like let's really listen. Like, some people, like, when they're talking to you, like when you're talking to them, you can tell that it's just
not in the room,
in and out.
Yeah.
But just be present and like be. Yeah. So definitely, I think being present is the way to go. Be a good listener. Yeah.
Hey, it sounds like relationship advice, eh?
Honestly, you know what? I think honestly, people are gonna hate me for saying this. Like, man, Donald Trump is a good listener.
Okay, well, I don't know. All right.
Man,
I don't know where this came from, but let's go. Let's do it. All right. How can we go? Yeah, go on, please.
Man, I don't know. Like, if you watch him talk to world leaders, like, you can tell that he's very engaged. He's very, like, people hate this guy, but he's a good listener, man. And that's why he's one of the greatest businessmen that has ever lived. Like, you can't deny he's a very, very good businessman. And I feel like one of the reasons why he's so successful is because, he listens. He listens and he's present. I mean, who would have ever thought that the US president would be talking and negotiating and trying to, do peace treaties with North Korea? I don't know why I brought that up, but
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I just thought about Donald Trump. He's
in terms of listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, if you watch his interviews with world leaders,
is there any that comes to mind?
I think when he talks to Putin.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, I saw a video of him.
I think a lot of people who are very anti-Trump would not like this, but go on. I don't care. I'd rather listen to what your opinion is.
I'm not saying like he's a good person or anything. I'm just saying, like, there are things that he demonstrates that are,
there's a quality in which you can
like
appreciate.
Everyone has good qualities. I don't care.
Interesting.
Like, everyone's got good qualities. I'm not necessarily agreeing with his policies and political
leadership,
point of view or whatever, but
this is something
I think he's a good businessman. Like, he's built an empire, and people say, oh, he's rich and stuff. Yeah, but like $1 million into billions is not an easy task as well, and he's done a good job. So I don't know.
Oh, okay, no, interesting.
Off topic, but
no. Since you've brought that up, actually, are there any role models that have shown you what it means to listen, aside from Trump?
I would say, I don't know. I think it was just like a maturity thing, to be honest. Like, just like learning on the job. Like, I realized early that this was an important skill set, and just thought I'd apply it, and seems to work out. But yeah, look, that's a good question. I mean, my all-time, person I look up to, probably Kobe Bryant. I mean, Kobe's my, I love basketball, and I grew up huge Kobe fan. The way he carried himself, he was very honest. He wasn't afraid to just tell you as it is, but yet very humble as well in his approach, but very competitive. Someone that really perfected his craft. If you look at it, he was a workaholic, but yet a family man as well. And I feel like he's such a great basketball player because he's just put so much time and so much detail into his footwork, his shot, and these are things that, like, I guess really translate as well. Like, Jasper, what do you do, you do podcasts, right? You do.
Okay.
Do people know what you do? If you apply like that kind of deep into yours, like, where would you be? What kind of reputation would you have as a radiographer? There's always things that you can tweak a little bit and change a little bit to make yourself better. So the Mamba mentality.
Mamba.
The Mamba mentality.
Is that what they call
That's
Kobe?
what they say it. Yeah, it's the Mamba mentality, man.
Okay.
So
yeah, I think that's very interesting. It's like you are so driven, but you're not lost.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you're still grounded,
Yeah.
which in this case is like family values, right?
Yeah.
And because I think it is very sad, but it is also a common thing where when somebody gets too ambitious or too into a certain things, they can lose themselves, right?
Right.
Like down the rabbit hole type thing.
Right.
Right. So yeah, that's interesting. Interesting how you like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool.
Good to share.
So I really appreciate your time, man.
Appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much. And I really hope I added some sort of value to people out there, listening. And it's been a very interesting
you definitely
first
have.
podcast.
You definitely have. No, I'd love to have you back. But before we end, and what I really do appreciate about this is how you gave advice to those who are looking to find a HR recruiter, and very similar to the previous the financial planner saying, what do you look for? I think in these industries where can be a bit of snake oil or unethical, there's this education aspect to wear off, which is what you shared.
Yeah, and look, if anyone listening is looking for a recruiter, then feel free to message Jasper for my details. All right.
I will charge a cut. I'm playing.
You get a margin. Don't worry.
I'm playing. Okay, before that, outro. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we bring it to a close?
It's nothing else. I think said a lot, and I've addressed the controversies. I've addressed the positive thing. Yeah, look, I just wish everyone luck who is looking for work. I wish them luck. I really hope that you guys would choose the right career path, no matter what it is, what situation it is. Everyone's different. Know what's best for you, and all the best.
Okay. Love those final words. Before we end, I'm going to do a quick new segment I've just thought of. It's called like quick questions.
Am I the first one?
You are the first one.
Oh,
there you go.
All right. Hit me.
Quick questions. We're going to see how many you can go through in, let's say...
You should have this at the start.
Yeah, maybe I should have. Look, it's gonna. There's some questions are gonna be harder. Some questions will be easier.
All right.
But it's gonna. I'm gonna start recording this down, and my next guest, who's gonna be a zookeeper.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Interesting. Hey.
Looking forward to hear that one.
Next guest, and I'll start doing a tally. Who does it best? Okay. But you've got. Say, haven't thought this through. I should have thought this through. You've got 1 minute.
Okay.
You've got 1 minute to answer as many questions as you can.
Okay.
And you can skip.
Okay.
You can skip, but if you skip 3, it's -1 point. I don't know. We'll figure that out. I'll figure that out.
All right.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
And after this, then I'll ask you my final question.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready?
You ask a lot of questions.
I do ask a lot of questions, and you've been giving good answers. Yeah.
Okay, go for it.
All right. One lesson learned in 2020.
Respect.
If you couldn't be a HR recruiter, what other job would you do?
Be a businessman.
In what business?
Import, export.
Tourism. Okay. If you could do any other job in the world, what would it be?
Basketball player.
Where will you be in 5 years' time?
Balling on a yacht.
All right. Most valuable lesson learned in life?
Treat others how you want to be treated.
What other profession would you like to listen to as a guest?
CEO.
Any particular company?
IT.
One thing you look forward to this year?
Happiness.
And that is time.
All right.
Well done. I'll tally the score. I'll tally the score.
Did pretty well. Okay.
Cool. And
cool.
Now I'm gonna go to my final question.
Yeah.
What is one thing? No.
I think my partner. Yeah. Just my partner. Yeah. Pretty grateful for her. She's really helped. She's really been there through everything. Thank you for her, and yeah, grateful for her. Shout out.
Yeah. Brownie points.
Yeah, that's it.
Good on you.
Cheers, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Not sure what happened about that last question. Hopefully you figured out it was, what are you most grateful for now? In terms of that final segment, Zen currently tops the leaderboard with no number 2 place, but with 9 points. I think that's a pretty good one. We'll see. So thanks for listening. I'm trying to up my social media game with a lot of help from a few friends. Thanks. Shout out to who you guys know, you guys who you are. It's been really nice to hear the feedback. And as of recording, we're almost at 500 listens. So we'd really appreciate if you tell a friend to tell a friend and help spread it around. Connect with me via the socials or email. And peace. See you next time.